North Korea is one of the most secretive and isolated nations on Earth. A country where time seems frozen, borders are sealed, and the government controls almost every part of life. For decades, the world has tried to understand what happens behind the curtains of this mysterious state, but information rarely escapes. This documentary explores the origins, the ideology, the power structure, and the daily reality of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. A country built on war, propaganda, fear, and absolute devotion to its leaders. To understand North Korea, we must go back to the Korean War, the division of the peninsula, and the rise of a dynasty unlike any other in modern history, the Kim family. Korea was not always divided. For centuries, it was a single unified kingdom with its own culture, identity, and traditions. But everything changed in 1945, when World War II ended and the peninsula became a battleground between the United States and the Soviet Union. The Soviets supported a communist leader named Kim Il-sung in the north, while the Americans backed a pro-Western government in the south. What was meant to be a temporary division along the 38th parallel became permanent when both sides refused to step back. In 1950, the Korean War erupted, a brutal conflict that killed millions and destroyed the entire peninsula. When the fighting stopped in 1953, no peace treaty was signed. Technically, North and South Korea are still at war today. From the ruins of war emerged a leader who would shape the identity of North Korea for generations, Kim Il-sung. With Soviet support, he built a totalitarian state centered on a single ideology, Juche, a doctrine of self-reliance, nationalism, and absolute loyalty to the leader. Kim Il-sung became the great leader, his image placed in every home, school, and office. Over time, he created a political monarchy, passing power to his son, Kim Jong-il, and later to his grandson, Kim Jong-un. This three-generation rule is unprecedented in communist history. It transformed North Korea into a state where political power is inherited like a royal dynasty. North Korea's government maintains power through one of the most intense propaganda systems in the world. From childhood, citizens are taught to worship the Kim family, blame the outside world for all suffering, and believe they live in a superior society. Every household must display portraits of the leaders, cleaned daily. Every neighborhood is monitored by Inmanban, community units that report suspicious behavior. Television, radio, newspapers, everything is controlled by the state. No alternative information is allowed. Even owning a foreign movie can lead to imprisonment or execution. This total information control creates a population isolated not only physically, but mentally, making it extremely difficult to challenge the regime. Daily life in North Korea depends on social class, a system called songbun. Your status is determined by your family background, political loyalty, and perceived obedience to the regime. It affects everything: where you live, what job you get, and how much food you receive. Most people live in poverty, working long hours in factories or farms. Electricity shortages are common. Internet access is restricted to a government-controlled intranet. Yet, public parades, mass dances, and celebrations hide the harsh reality. The regime carefully stages these events to show a perfect society to the outside world. North Korea maintains one of the largest armies on Earth relative to its population. Military service is mandatory, lasting up to 10 years for men. The regime portrays the country as constantly under threat, using fear to justify extreme militarization. But the most controversial element is North Korea's nuclear program. Despite sanctions and diplomatic pressure, the regime continues to develop missiles capable of reaching the United States and neighboring countries. For the Kim dynasty, nuclear weapons are not just military tools, they are survival tools. They ensure the regime cannot be easily removed. The 1990s brought one of the worst famines in modern history, known as the Arduous March. Hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions, died as the economy collapsed. Sanctions, mismanagement, and the prioritization of the military over the population worsened the crisis. Even today, food insecurity is widespread. Markets exist, but the state controls what can be sold and at what price. Despite international aid, the regime often diverts resources to the elite and the military. Escaping North Korea is nearly impossible. The border with South Korea is the most heavily fortified in the world, filled with landmines, soldiers, and surveillance. Many try to flee through China, but Chinese authorities often capture defectors and send them back, where they face imprisonment, torture, or execution. Families of escapees are punished through guilt by association, discouraging others from attempting to flee. China is North Korea's biggest ally, economic lifeline, and political protector. The Chinese government supports North Korea because it fears instability on its borders and prefers a buffer state rather than a unified Korea allied with the United States. Most of North Korea's trade flows through China, giving Beijing immense influence, though it rarely uses it openly. The future of North Korea remains uncertain. Some predict eventual collapse, others believe the Kim dynasty will survive for decades. What is certain is that the regime will continue to use fear, ideology, and nuclear weapons to maintain control, while the world watches, hoping for change. Any transition, whether slow or sudden, would reshape the geopolitics of East Asia forever.